You're listening to the History Things podcast, a conversational approach to discussing social, industrial, maritime, music, and military history. Join us and our special guests as we dive down the rabbit holes of your favorite stories from the past. Follow the History Things podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or online at Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Be sure to leave a review and a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast app. Pat and Parker are coming right up. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy the show.
She came from somewhere back in long ago.
Oh man, the dulcet tones of Michael McDonald bringing us into 2025.
You see,
Season 6 off to a brilliant start here.
Look, I know what it means to hide your heart. From a long time ago.
Oh my goodness.
Darling.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the History Things podcast. We are in season 6. We are rolling right from the start here. Have a very good friend in studio to talk about, just something weird that we all decided to do a few years ago, and we're going to talk about their experience in it. But before we get to that conversation, I'm joined by the co-host of the History Things podcast, the most New Englander, the big guy from Maine. If it's not lobsters, it's lumberjack stuff. Who knows?
I say it's wicked snow and wicked hot out there on the way up here today, dear.
It's funny that as we're recording this today, we dealt with some snow, quote unquote, and watching people fall apart. Yeah. Is that a humorous thing for you?
No, it's very humorous for me. It's like when a snowflake appears over Montgomery County, half the county shut down.
Ladies and gentlemen, Parker Russell is here. Season 6. What's up, Parker?
Oh, pretty good. Mother was out to garden. She had to come inside. All the blueberries were all raked, and all the lobster traps were all brought inside. So.
Oh, my goodness. Happy New Year, friend. How are you?
Happy New Year. We're doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Excited to be here for our first official episode of the new season.
This is it, man.
This is it?
Great.
It's over?
No, I mean,
this is it. That's all there is. Here. We're done.
I hope not.
I am very excited.
That was a fast run for the Parker Russell. I mean the not the Parker Russell.
Van Hagar.
What am I talking about?
Van Hagar had more success than you did. We'll just call that what it is. Anyway, right out of the gate, we're getting rolling with a kind of a fun conversation. We're not going to be talking about something that happened too far in the past, but we are going to be talking about something that happened a few years ago and in a number of capacities has grown to be a part of your lives. So joining us in our studio for a change, normally we're up in his studio in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, is our very good friend and host of the Addressing Gettysburg podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, returning to the airwaves is Matt Callery. What's up, big guy? How are you?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Your
Tits are sagging. The greatest joke ever told in the history of podcasting.
Hi, Patty.
Hi, Matt. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm fascinated. I love your studio, by
Thank
the
you,
way.
friend.
And I think you have a Patreon or something?
No. Not yet.
Someone in the audience with deep pockets should give Pat about $12,000 so he could get some video equipment because his studio is decorated in such a way, and it's frankly much better put together than mine.
No,
look at the
way,
TV
man.
you have behind.
This is the thing we are most proud of.
You've got your motion logo behind, and this table. I mean, it is set up as if it is being videotaped. And I was looking when I came down here. I was looking around for the cameras because it's different from the last. I mean, not very different.
Well, here's why you can't see the cameras. Bring them in. I'm Chris Hansen.
I'm Chris Hansen. Have a seat. Oh, you're already seated.
Have a seat.
What'd you bring with you?
Yeah. What you doing here?
What's the Zima for?
It's always Zima. Those bastards.
Zima and watermelon Jolly Ranchers.
Well, I appreciate that compliment. We do love sitting in this room. We are hopefully moving towards video, and you're right. If somebody wants to give us $12,000, we would love that.
I think I would say it would be worth it because you have a good... well, first of all, the videos that you do put out, what you do with just a cell phone?
Dude, it is a process, but yeah, they're just cell phone.
You have way more patience than I do for that, but they're good, and you're doing them with just a cell phone. Imagine, folks, what they could do with a camera that costs $1,000,
$1,000,
3 cameras that cost $1,000, and a switcher that costs about $1,200, and the wires and all the things that they'll need. But 12 grand should cover it at the end of the day.
We appreciate that, man. It's always been a fun experience doing this show because I've always been inspired by the people that surround me, and we've said it very publicly on the show. Your studio from day one inspired our day one studio, and it's been kind of fun to just every time I see your room go, I need to do something different.
So
like you have a window in your room now, like that. My favorite part of your studio is your separated production area.
Yeah, you need to wall this off and put a window there. Parker's not there anymore.
Now.
Well,
now you need a new Parker.
I'm not gonna lie, man. When I was sitting there a couple weeks ago, I was like, dude, what I wouldn't have given for this.
To be in the other room.
Well, not just to be in the other, but like having a window to look through and like, Pat, blah, 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 blah. Because I like.
Shut the up.
No,
That's what he's saying. Pat.
Stop talking.
He's like,
but
Pat,
like,
you're
there
obnoxious.
Are things, what you don't see like behind the curtain. There are things that happen, while we're recording. That sometimes messages need to be delivered or whatever.
The codes, mostly the
mostly,
codes.
yeah. And that would have been great. That would have been great to have like a window just looking through. I mean, that would have been absolutely like a.
Well,
great. It's a fantastic studio.
Baby steps. But I think what's funny is, the first studio that the first one you came to was the one at the old radio station, which was pretty plain.
Yeah, that was the Destination Gettysburg studio, right? Where you had the rented back office space.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not rented. They gave it to me.
Oh, I thought you rented that.
No,
That's cool.
I have been very lucky that I haven't had to rent any of my studios. That it's like. They just let me use it because it was just going to waste, and we had a similar goal, which was to sell Gettysburg.
Sure.
And then Getty's Bike, when we moved into the shed, I owned half the business, so we didn't need all that space for the office. So Jake, so what had happened was I got kicked out of. I'd not kicked out in a bad way, but COVID hit.
They were like, "Get out, you son of a bitch!
Yeah, you started it. You
get out of here."
And they're like, so they didn't want anybody in the building. So they called me and said, you got to get all your stuff and get out because we're locking down the building. Everybody's working from home, and we don't know when this is going to end. So okay. So I got all my stuff out, and it was March when that happened, and so we're going into spring, so we just started recording out on the battlefield for that whole year.
Right, because we linked up with you in February of that year.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like right before our show launched.
Yes.
Thank you for that, by
You're
the way.
welcome.
That was nice of you.
Well, I always wished someone who was doing something that I wanted to do would reach out or reach down, I guess it would be, and pull me up a little bit, just like. And so that I found myself in that position to do for somebody. And by that point, I mean, I barely had, I think I had 2,500 downloads a month at that point.
See, when you reached
down,
that
was the most that I ever had.
When you reached down, you grabbed what was left of my hair, though. So while it was very helpful, I'm now
totally
permanently bald forever.
Well, I'm pulling you into the club.
Well,
the hair loss club for men.
Yeah.
Do I get to meet Mr. Clean?
He's our idol. Nobody's met Mr.
No,
Clean.
okay.
Oh yeah, no.
Shh,
Him and
don't
Telly
say
Savalas.
Can we tell it? God damn it, Parker found a way.
I'll
Was
do
it
you a dumb boat movie.
2 seasons
I'll do you a dumb
ago?
train movie.
We found a way to bring Telly Savalas up in like 4 consecutive episodes because he made one crazy joke during the Halloween episode. And so Telly Savalas was low-key just like this stupid joke that was a part of our 3rd season.
Sure, I'll do you a dumb movie. Can I look at some broads?
Yeah, he always turned him into that kind of guy.
That was his character in the movie. The movie was Horror Express.
That's right.
With Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, and
Telly
Savalas.
Yeah, we're like watching the Battle of the Bulge.
Angie
like
Dickinson.
Whatever.
Anyway, so let me finish the first thing. So
Yeah.
Who loves you, baby?
So we go out of there, and then we're on the battlefield recording, and it's just audio that we're recording. But people like the sound of cars going by, birds tweeting, wind, all that stuff.
They like the sound of that?
Well, because it puts them there.
Okay.
That's a good point.
So it's theater of the mind. You got to think of it as theater of the mind.
No,
okay?
for sure.
Okay, so they hear all that stuff, and what I did is I got a Zoom. Actually, the Tattooed Historian sold me his Zoom H6, I think it is. You could plug 4 XLR mics into it, and you could put a head, like a stereo mic head on it, and so the stereo mic, I would put that on there and face it away from us so that you get a stereo bed.
Was that the one that had the mics facing like that?
They're in an X pattern.
I wonder if me and my old truck made an appearance without knowing it. Just
It could have been
Just plowing through.
and Harleys and like every other goddamn thing.
why does this dude just park here and just throw it in neutral? What is he doing?
Right.
Spoiler alert, we're actually at a truck stop in Hagerstown. Spoiler alert, guys.
Anyway, so we did those, and then as we're getting to August, I say to Eric, the producer, I say, hey, winter's coming.
Oh, King of the North.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And he goes, yeah, it is. And then, so this is something that my whole Addressing Gettysburg career, if you will, has been punctuated by. I would say something like, we need to move indoors.
Right.
Or, in fact, speaking of Eric, I was saying before Eric came around, man, I really need a producer.
Yeah.
And like literally 2 to 3 months after I started saying it repeatedly, and it's not like, universe, I need a producer.
No, dude,
like,
you're talking about
just
manifesting.
talking. You're right. Well, yeah, but it's just kind of like, I'm in a conversation with you, let's say, and I'm just like, man, I really need a producer, right? So
I really need
2 or 3
$10,000.
months. Yeah, serious. Well, you have to have a reason for it. You can't just say.
Oh, I got a lot of reasons.
I
They're called
need a-
bills and children.
well, you never know. There might be somebody generous out there. But so Eric, like 2 to 3 months after that, like literally came out of the woods work and on Culp's Hill and introduced himself to me and Bob.
Like
Steenstra.
actually emerged from the woods.
Yeah, we were out there.
That is
Bob
so on
Steenstra
brand.
was. Yeah, it is. Well, because we noticed this guy, this big burly guy with a checkered flannel shirt, big bushy beard, and a
Bucktail.
Spanish American War campaign hat.
He was wearing that.
Yeah, and which I thought really looked cool on him. He really wore that well, and so. We see him, and it's like this cold March, foggy, rainy day in Culp's Hill. Not too cold, like 50 degrees or whatever. And he's just kind of like walking around, and then he'd disappear, and then he'd walk, and then he'd emerge from somewhere else. And it's kind of like
He's an
circling.
apparition.
Like, but an apparition that's closing in on us, right?
Yeah. He just goes there and broods in the woods. Did you know that? Like, he doesn't do anything. He just sits there and he's like
What he was doing.
mysterious.
Yeah, when he finally came up to us,
I'm kinda
he was like,
pissed.
We're like, what are you doing? He goes, brooding. So anyway, so he comes over to us and he goes, are you Bob and Matt? And we said, yeah. He goes, oh, I was just watching the live stream you did while we were recording. I just put it a live stream on Instagram. And he was watching it, and then we had said, all right, let's go to Culp's Hill. So then he stalked us. And went over there.
Damn.
So that night
That's creepy, Eric.
that night he asked me if I needed help with anything. And I said, oh, you're a psychiatrist. And he goes, no, I mean with the show. And okay, it wasn't that funny.
No,
it wasn't that funny.
That came out of left field. That got me.
Do you need a hug, Matt?
Yeah. Yes. So
You see, he asked me that question at the end of last season, and I said yes, and I've yet to be hugged.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying
I've gotten a hug from Pat.
Have you?
Really?
It's the one-armed, not gay hug.
I'm not a big hugger.
The handshake.
You've all
one-armed.
equally gotten the same hug in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Between the one-armed hug that I got and the one-armed hug that you got, we both got 2 arms.
You get one hug.
You guys, and now if you hug each other, the circle is complete.
Yes.
The circle of Pat's hugs.
The circle of
There's so many people.
Wow. But now, before we move on from Eric, Eric's with us a little bit here today.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and
This
yeah, a little
is-
nice Von Dedham there.
There's a little Von Dudham. This Eric, the producer, made this.
How about
And-
this? He made this as well.
Oh, his work is the best.
It's beautiful.
To our listeners,
Oh, and he
Von Dudham
also
Company.
made my belt.
Oh,
Oh.
now you're taking your pants off.
Yeah,
Yes, I am.
Matt.
And
But,
I have
oh my.
3 of his belts, and
That's amazing.
they are fan. You know why his belts are so good? Because He uses
It's the real cow leather.
Real leather.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like my wife, I told her about this keychain that I saw he had made, and I was like, man, I want one of those. And so for my birthday last year, she just reached out to him, like, she's like, hey, long shot, do you still have one of these around? He's like, no, but I can make you one.
Yeah.
And I carry him. He's with me every day. Little piece of Eric is with me every day.
He's going to be so annoyed we're talking about him. He's going to be like, change the damn subject.
Well, Eric, thank you. You make a great product, and anyone who hasn't done them is.
We're sitting in Eric's product. Eric helped me frame this whole basement.
true.
That wall
That's
right there,
true.
that is the Eric Money Wall of Excellence, the U.S. Army wall.
Yeah, well,
I picture like the Ron Swanson pyramid.
those are
of
all
greatness.
his unit patches.
And see, nobody
That's true,
knows
yeah.
this because you don't have cameras in here, ladies and
Yeah.
gentlemen. Please donate and give them some cameras.
the upper walls are my grandfather's and some historic units that we like to study, but
And a Paula, right? Is that
no,
Paula
that's a
there?
division patch. That's a U.S. Army division
I'm sorry.
patch.
I'm sorry.
That's all Army, baby.
Sorry. Yeah.
We love all the branches, but Eric did a lot for us, and he
Yeah.
served in the Army, so this became an Army theme wall.
Eric
American
did
hero.
the same thing. So we're back to the studio thing now.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm saying we need to go indoors. I got to figure out where to go.
Yeah.
And I never said this out loud to my business partner, but one day out of the blue, he's like, we don't need all this extra space in the office shed if you want to make your studio there. And I was like, no fucking way. Like I was just saying.
You're like, no,
Right.
dude.
So then Eric and I got a bunch of drywall and
I remember this.
so now it was funny because Jake, my business partner at the time, was getting impatient with it being all, not quite usable.
Right.
And so one day he started doing it, but he didn't know to tape the scenes.
Oh,
Remember
yes.
this?
I do
And
vividly
so,
remember
like, there were
this.
piles of drywall, and it was all uneven. And Eric came in on that Monday,
That
and
must
he
have
was
annoyed him.
so pissed off.
So here's
We told him not to do it.
here's the full circle to that story. So one, Eric and I had met and linked up in life and realized that we were like grumpy, brooding dudes with beards and like forever linked as friends.
Right.
Mutually grumpy all the time. And so like, we developed this very, interesting relationship. And so right away, both being guys that have like done construction work and blue collar stuff, we bonded over this hell that he was living in with the drywall. So fast forward, we're finishing my basement. We're building the podcast studio and he's undertaking an incredible amount of work. He's basically teaching me framing as we're going, something I didn't know how to do at the beginning. And he had one caveat. He's like, you don't have to pay me. Don't do this. He's like, but I'm not helping you with any of your fucking drywall.
I remember that.
He's like, it was like the one stipulation. He's like, I'm not doing a single bit of drywall in your basement.
I remember that. And we were covered in it, and because of the sanding.
Yeah.
And we both were. Yeah, both of us were like, never again am I ever going near this. It's it was blowing your nose and just. Anyway, so we finally got that built, and just in the nick of time for the cold weather, and we started doing the show in that studio, and we stayed there for 2 or 3 years until Eric Dorr, out of the blue. I started saying,
Who is Eric Dorr for our listeners who don't know names?
I'll say that in a second.
Okay.
All right. So I started saying, I think I'm outgrowing the shed. The show's getting too big. We have too many more people and people come with the peanut gallery. They come to just watch it. And I'm like, I need more space. And then one day, Eric Dorr comes up to me and he's like, hey man, I'm buying this building next door. It's not going to be ready till like next summer. And it's like the end of the summer.
Right.
And he's like, it's not going to be ready till next summer. But there's a carriage house in the back. There's all this office space in there.
Nice.
And I don't need it. I just need most of it for storage, but like I can spare some space for you if you need a studio. And I was like,
what's the catch?
I go, yeah, how much is it? I don't make a ton of money off of this. And he's like, no, it would be free. I just want you to promote the museum. And I was like, all right.
Nice.
So
I was glad it wasn't like feet. You know what I mean?
pictures of your feet.
Just like, yeah.
So Eric Dorr.
I was a little worried where that story was going to go.
Eric Dorr runs the Gettysburg Museum of History at 219 Baltimore Street in Gettysburg. And, you got museums right now. They all kind of look the same. They're all kind of, even when they're done nice, there's a sterility to them. They're sterile.
Yeah.
No character. It's more about the design than the artifacts often. Not all, but a lot.
Yeah.
You know, that's like the thing, like how it's done now. But Eric's is in the old style of like the roadside museum.
There's
like,
just stuff.
that's
there's
cool.
stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's cool stuff. Like
I think it's a beautiful chaos because
It is.
quite literally there is like artifact. It's kind of like what the old Gettysburg visitor center was like, you know, when our museums, when it was just packed with all the guns, all the cannons.
Shove it all in there.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and he's got tons of stuff. He's got like Band of Brothers stuff.
Oh,
He's got a lot of stuff that the guys stole from the Eagle's Nest.
I want to ask you about that in a little bit, but I want to continue this.
And he's got Gettysburg stuff because his grandfather, I forget which farm it was. I don't want to say the wrong one, but he owned one of the farms on the battlefield until I believe it was the 70s or 80s, and then went to the park. And so, you know, he's got some stuff that they, you know, plow in the fields or whatever, like pulled up and from that property, plus other areas and everything like that.
So look what I found in the field here.
Yeah. He's not even Irish, but yeah.
I was like, where did that come from?
Look,
That's
it's
great.
a wedding ring attached to a finger.
It's got dark.
It gets dark really quick.
So dark.
When you do the Irish stuff, it has to
It just
get dark.
goes 0 to dark. The English are coming.
So he, you know, for those of you who are familiar with Gettysburg and you're interested in the Jennie Wade story,
Never heard of it.
he's got letters from I believe just Jack Skelly, which was her boyfriend. It could be from Jennie too.
Is that the one that kidnapped Santa?
Yes, Jack Skellington from Gettysburg. Died. He was in the 87th PA and he died at Winchester. No, he.
Did you just get that, Parker? All right.
Yeah,
Moving
come on,
on.
Parker.
Moving on.
That's
Anyway, so
Lord,
these
I
letters are
apologize.
interesting though because they're like long lost letters that turned up only in the last, I think, 20 years.
Oh, that's cool.
And so he has them, and his Jack's brother Daniel, you know, had kept them, and there's parts of the letter that he like cut out and annotated to say something like normal girlfriend boyfriend stuff that we don't need to read.
Oh,
So it's like
they're
you know,
sexting.
probably sexting. Yeah, exactly.
Where they're from? Where are they from in Pennsylvania?
Gettysburg.
So they're like probably German.
Skelly. What is that? That's like Irish.
I don't know. I was just looking for. Yeah, the sea.
Wade
That's
and
right. Look what
Wade.
I found
Yeah.
in the field.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, gee, Jenny, look what I be doing down here in Virginia.
Right. Jenny, touch my.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, but when you need the dough.
When you need the dough, it's okay to pull the plug.
Oh,
I
boy.
understand the war is. I don't know
I
what
cannot
that
wait for
accent
the
is.
war to end for you to need my dough, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh boy.
I'll be needing to put down a good plow in upon return. The traditional history audience fucking hates me.
Yeah, they
they're
hate-
seething right now.
They're not.
They're like,
enjoying
be
this.
reverent, okay?
Right.
They were in love.
They were in love, and and she died. She was baking bread. She was just baking bread. Can I tell you?
She was practicing.
I have a Jennie Wade conspiracy theory.
All right.
Okay,
I'm ready.
First
Let's do
of all,
it.
first of all, before,
Cue the conspiracy music.
you got it.
It's time for Gettysburg Conspiracy Theory with Matt Callery.
Thank you. So okay, here's what I. First of all, before we get to the conspiracy theory, let me tell you the problems I have with the official story.
All right.
Okay. All right. Now, picture, if you will, a little brick house on the outskirts of town. Okay. Jenny's sister, Georgia. Jenny's first name was really Virginia. It was Mary Virginia Wade was her name.
What side of the war were these people
That's
on?
what I want to know.
Virginia?
Georgia, Virginia,
The rebels.
and her
No,
and their
better than the
redheaded
bloody
sister.
English.
They're redheaded.
There's just something about hanging out with you that makes me want to do my Irish accent all the time.
Their redheaded hair lip sister, Alabama.
Oh! And there goes our southern audience.
Sorry, guys.
Oh, you think they've been here? They checked out like 4 seasons ago.
They're like these
Roll Tide, everyone.
He said the war was about slavery, and I was like, shut up.
Yeah, turn that off. I ain't gonna listen to that again.
Tuned out.
All right.
Oh man, I'm bringing my banjo out. Maybe I'll bring him back. Okay.
Give me the music
Oh,
again.
ready? It's time for Gettysburg conspiracy theory.
I think you need to say it's time for Gettysburg conspiracy theory and then hit the music.
Oh yeah.
Ready? It's time for
No.
Wait.
No.
Gettysburg conspiracy theory.
Okay.
You do it one more time.
And don't sound like you're trying to seduce me. Sound like an announcer.
It's time
Not that kind of announcer.
I got it. You're being relieved.
What?
It's time for Gettysburg conspiracy theory.
That's what I meant. Thank you, Patrick.
Wow.
So, all right. So Mary
I was
Virginia
giving
Wade.
you some of my best voices there.
She's
guys.
going down to.
She's going
to
down?
stay at her
Okay.
sister's house. You sick bastard.
Well, I mean, we got those.
She's going down to
sexting
stay at her
letters.
sister's house because her sister just had a baby a few days. Actually, on June 26th, if I recall. Okay.
All right.
And she's not doing too well. She's not doing too well. You know, it's tougher back then.
Sure.
Now, childbirth's a piece of cake. You just squat over a toilet, and there it goes, right?
Didn't even know you're pregnant.
Wow.
Don't even know you're pregnant.
Super easy, barely any inconvenience.
Exactly. Wow. But back in those days, pregnancy hurt, and there were complications that could arise.
Really?
Yeah. So anyway,
Wow.
so
was
she's
hatched.
going down there. She's down there to help her sister. Her mother's there too, and who probably his uncle or something, or I don't know, somebody else. So who knows? And now you have to understand, it is a duplex. Okay. The side that the Wades were on is facing what is now the Gettysburg 1863 Gettysburg Inn, or in Gettysburg 1863 Inn on the hill, or whatever.
The thing there that people
used to be
say.
the Holiday Inn.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
But it also faces further up the road the Farnsworth house, where they believe the shot came from somewhere in that vicinity. Okay. Now,
I thought all the bullets at the battle hit the Farnsworth house, not were fired from the Farnsworth house.
well, you got guys both sides.
No.
The Union's hitting the Farnsworth
no.
house.
When
the
you go to the
Confederates are-
Farnsworth house, all you hear the bullets hit the. Look at the brick. That's all there is. There's only the bullets that hit the brick, Matt.
No, anything else? Just the
Anything else? There's nothing else.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Took you forever to. I was like,
yeah,
dude, you're
like-
missing it.
I'm like, I got it now. All right, so okay, good. Let's get this in our heads now.
right.
So they're on the north side of the house.
Okay.
Facing north.
All right.
There's another family, forget their name. It was on the
South face.
south of facing. Okay,
Okay.
so that's how it's split, north south. Okay.
All right.
All right, now. The sister is in a bed in the front room. Now, if you go there today, they have the bed supposedly where the bed was,
Okay.
and there's a window.
A Wendy's.
Oh,
There is a Wendy's, but that's out on 30.
Okay.
Okay.
There's
So
a
it's not a
win-
drive-through window.
no.
Were they open late?
It's
Even
a
then,
fly-
even back
it's
then.
a fly-through window for lead. Now, so this window is there, and like you could, if you're laying in the bed, you could look out the window and see the Farnsworth house where they're shooting at you from. Okay. And of course, a bullet comes flying through there, hits the bedpost, almost hits her in the head while she's laying there. Okay.
Oh, no.
Now, that's one. Let's tick off all these things. That's one thing. Okay. Second thing, there's Union troops in and around the house. Not so much in, I don't believe, but around the house, exchanging fire with these Confederate troops. Okay.
Right.
So that's two. That's the second thing that's kind of got me a little alarmed here as a man trying to protect his family. And then let's see. Well, and of course, bullets are hitting the house all over the place, not just the window. Apparently, nobody in the Wade family thinks,
We
hey,
should duck.
we should maybe get out of here.
No,
Okay?
there's bread to be made.
Exactly.
Jack Skelly
Jenny's
will be
like,
returning.
You guys can go, but I'm baking bread for the soldiers. And
Yes, she is.
now people say, well, Georgia was in very tough shape, and moving
And Georgia
her-
was on her mind.
and it was on everybody's mind, and moving her could have maybe killed her or something like that.
Sure.
So they had to keep her there. I'm like, okay, fine. Why is she on a bed that is in the line of a window?
Is there
Why
no
not put her
cellar?
on the floor?
Is there no cellar in
There
this
is a
house?
cellar, but you got to go around outside the house to get to the cellar door. You can't get it through the house.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, a shell goes through the roof
Okay.
and creates a hole in the second floor between the two domiciles, okay? Which they will later use. If I'm getting this part right, I believe they will later use it to take Jenny's dead body out to the back and down into the cellar.
Oh,
Okay. So my question is, when that hole appears, nobody says, "Hey, let's make our escape through that hole. No, they have to wait for somebody to die, and then somebody's like, oh,
That's because
let's use that hole.
That's because here's the real story. You ready?
I got the
ready,
real
ready,
story.
ready?
Go ahead.
Ready?
Breaking it. Do it. Neighbors who live on the south side of the duplex obviously have been beefing with the Wades for quite some time, right? Perhaps there's a love interest.
No.
Maybe Jack Skelly has a girlfriend in the south-facing house.
Or maybe Jenny was messing around with the husband.
Well,
maybe.
maybe.
Well, let's say, is it an errant bullet that takes Jennie Wade out, or is it a murder that is framed?
Or
They made it
maybe.
seem like she caught a stray.
Right.
Maybe.
They took her out.
Ready for this? Ready. Maybe.
You just want to hit the button.
Jenny had more than bread in the oven.
A bun.
A
She had a
bun.
bun in the oven.
Yeah.
How about this?
Ah.
How about this?
Ready?
Wait.
No. God damn it. The news can't break anymore. It's fucking broken at this point.
I wasn't adding to you. I was going to throw this out to you as well. They're surrounded by Union soldiers. There's officers, of course, right?
Yeah.
Even I believe General Howard goes over to the house, and at no point does anybody
He said,
say,
Howard, you doing?
Does he do this with Scott Hartwig when he's on? Or
No,
is it
he was not here for Hartwig.
Okay.
I was
You were here for Hardwig 3.
Yeah. Hartwig 3.
I want the same treatment as Scott Hartwig.
I'm trying to give it to you, brother.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, it's okay. So, all
I'll
right.
be stoic from here on
Every
out.
time you try to tell a story, Parker's like,
I know.
yeah. Every time you try to tell a story.
It's very difficult to finish here.
Sorry.
We're going to be here till like 10 o'clock.
No, please, God, I'm too old for that.
I know, me too. All right, so at no point does an officer
Right.
get the idea,
Hey,
These people shouldn't be here.
maybe we should run out a flag of truce and say, hey, we got women and a baby
That's how Howard talks, for
in
sure.
this house. This is General Howard.
That's how he talks, for
Yeah.
sure.
And he goes, and so we should go out and just say ceasefire until we can get them to the safe side of the hill,
Right.
right?
I'm sure.
Thus supporting my theory that this was an inside job. They took her out.
Okay,
Somebody
so
took her out.
now let's get to the conspiracy theory.
Okay, do it now.
The conspiracy theory is this. Now, Jack Skelly is in the 87th Pennsylvania. Now, they're not up here, or they're not up at Gettysburg, excuse me, at the time. In fact, they were routed at 2nd Winchester, and Jack lay wounded, mortally wounded, in the field.
You will not be needing me.
Right.
My
No
dough,
more.
my dough will remain here
That's right.
to molder in the ground.
Oh, Jenny. When a wisp of wind
Seamus O'Flanagan
blows across
fly
your
on.
ear, know that it is me, breathing my rancid dead man breath over your shoulder.
Oh, wow.
So he's not, and this is where Wesley Culp comes across him. Wesley Culp, a Gettysburg boy who
Yeah.
fights for the Confederacy, comes across him. He's like,
Well, hey there, Jack.
and he's like, "Oh, how you doing, Wesley?"
He goes, I'm better looking than you are right now, Jack. You don't look too good there.
Jack's like, I'm half in the other world. You just wait. I can see.
right.
You're going to be joining me, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, you don't have much longer to go, and we'll take care of this later.
I hope you have fun going home.
Yeah, say hi to your mother for me. All right, so 87th PA down there, right?
Yeah.
Well, of course, the whole over the Army of the Potomac, which the 87th wasn't in, was down in Virginia prior to the Battle of Gettysburg.
Sure.
For the whole war, except for the Antietam campaign, right? But then they pop back down and they're like, hey. So Jenny went to visit Jack and, maybe other people she might have known in
Right.
the regiment.
Right.
And of course, what did she bring?
Bread.
Yep, of course.
And, but while down there, okay, Mary Virginia, her sister Georgia.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of people around town were saying that
I'm
she
suspicious
was
of
actually
this. Yeah.
a Confederate sympathizer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, while down there, she sneaks across the line and has an illicit affair with Robert E. Lee.
That's it.
Does she really?
She does.
Yeah.
And gets a bun in the oven.
Oh,
Okay?
That's
it's
it.
Bobby Lee's baby.
It's Bobby Lee's bun. And that is why
And Jackson finds out.
No, that is why Lee invaded Pennsylvania and brought the army to Gettysburg.
Just to take her out.
to
The
take
whole
her out.
thing was just
Imagine
a
the
giant
scandal.
conspiracy.
Just think about it. Everybody at home's like, oh my God, that's all. No. Imagine the scandal, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my.
Imagine if word got out that Robert E. Lee had an illicit, the Marble Man had an illicit affair.
That's why she was so
Well,
attracted.
think
to
about
him.
it. Think about Jackson gets
It's that
taken out
marble.
by his. He found out. He knew too
Jackson
much.
knew. And Lee's like,
North Carolina, I need you to take him out.
I just had a meeting with Jackson and I told him.
I ordered
I
reconnaissance.
said, you should do the reconnaissance yourself, Jack. So anyway, that's
love
why the Battle of Gettysburg
I love it.
was, and that's why Jennie Wade died. Honestly, though, I think the whole Jennie Wade story, these people, it drives me nuts, these people that are taken with the official story. Okay, and nobody, like we did so we did a show years ago out in front of the Jennie Wade house. Tim Smith was, because he loves Jennie Wade, and Cindy Small wrote a book about Jennie Wade, and we had them on. And we were talking about the whole Jennie Wade incident, and I said, you know what, this doesn't add up to me.
Yeah.
I don't understand why no one tried to get these people. Why is she standing upright, baking bread in front of a door?
Because Lee told her to.
Because Lee told her to. No, but like it makes no sense. I don't understand what you. And if you go into the house, it makes even less sense. See, if you've never seen the house and the proximity to the Confederate line, and the just how small the house is,
Right.
You paint your own picture in your head of what the house is.
Well,
But when you go there and you see it, you're like, come on.
well, look. So one, you've been in central Pennsylvania for a while now. The Pennsylvania Dutch are a stubborn people.
Well, that's true.
She was baking bread.
She was baking bread.
I didn't start this fight. I'm baking bread. So
Right.
maybe they're just principled and saying. Two, maybe she was deaf.
What?
What?
Dun 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 dun.
The other thing I can think is like, this is something that like in a legitimate way, I ponder this as like, what experiences do we not even know we're missing when we study history? Like right now we have all this distraction in our lives, right? Like you could be in your house and completely shut out the outside world because your laundry machine's running, whatever, dishwashers, just you're cooking, right? Things like that. Music's playing, blah, blah, blah.
Jennie
like,
Wade had the garbage disposal.
well, no,
line.
but like, what are the 19th century things that could cause you to tune out in your own home? And like, it's crazy because, I mean, could you tune out a battle? I would think not, but.
I would imagine not.
And then the second
Yeah.
question I have is somebody who does not study the campaign at Gettysburg in the slightest is how quickly did the battle roll on, like come on and like roll onto the edge of town? Because I know it starts in the outskirts. But by the time you get to Jennie Wade on day one, they fought through the town. I mean, like they're like the 11th Corps is being pushed, ass out at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So, did they not know it was rolling through town that fast? Did they think maybe they were insulated by the
well,
buildings?
Okay, so the other reason they're in that house, not only just take care of the sister, but because her actual house that she lived in is in the Confederate lines.
Because here, man, look, shy of you coming up with a legitimate reason here, it's got to be Bobby Lee.
That's what I'm saying.
I'd say it's got to be Bobby.
And
Lee.
nobody can come up with a good reason. Nobody. Tim Smith, he looked at me like I was crazy.
Dude,
I don't
what
think
does he
you're
even
crazy.
know?
And I said, Tim,
What?
you're the Jennie Wade guy. Like, what do you
Yeah.
mean you don't know? I mean,
He's keeping the secret.
he exactly. He's gatekeeping.
He's in the society of secret
Yeah,
keepers.
That's true.
yeah.
I
And
have-
every time I try to get him to admit that I'm right, but he just won't.
For our listeners, I have two questions for you personally.
Oh,
Wait, for the
just-
listeners or for me?
For the enjoyment of our listeners.
Oh, for the better. Okay,
For the
gotcha.
embetterment of
Yeah.
our listeners.
Yeah.
How silly or how real do you think the ghosts are? The ghost stories.
Oh man, we're going right to ghosts.
I have just a question. I have a follow-up question after you answer this question.
Okay, all right. I'll give you the short
And
answer.
because the second
Have you seen
question,
an orb, Matt?
I will give you the second question now so you can see where I'm going with it.
Go.
The second question is, have you ever seen anything up there that's just, what the hell is that?
All right.
Yeah. Have you met the people of Adams County? Great people, but they're in Pennsylvania.
It's a different speed.
Yeah.
it's funny because when I moved there, I liked that it was slower paced and nobody's in a hurry.
Right.
And now the New Jersey comes out of me, and it's like, why is nobody in a hurry around here?
You're like, hurry up! I got
Fuck out of
places
my
to
way!
go.
I gotta go.
I'm driving here.
Yeah.
It's like when they see a snowflake on the road in Montgomery County. They just shut down the whole state.
Yeah. But to answer your question, silly, and yes,
Okay.
I have actually had an experience. Would you like to hear it?
I would love to hear it.
Yes.
I would love to hear it.
All right, this is my first apartment.
Wait, is this one more real than the Bobby Lee thing? Like this is?
yeah.
Are you about to? You're not spinning a yarn reel here.
This is a real story.
You're not about to be spinning a yarn here.
No,
on
no.
the tail, no tail.
No, I don't.
We're not just having a bit of crack.
I take me ghosts seriously.
Okay.
Okay.
And this was one of those stories that I don't know.
See, yeah.
No one would explain to me or could explain to me, even if they was there.
All right, so what happened?
All right, so here's what happened. So at the time, it was my first year down there, and I had opened the bike tour company, and my best friend moved down. He was one of the owners. We both got it going off the ground, so we had an apartment, and then we had a third partner back home who was a guy we went to high school with. He was a lawyer, so he handled all the boring crap. And so he was visiting for the weekend. He leaves Sunday, and being that we're bachelors and we were in our 20s, we took the air mattress down. We deflated it and folded it up and put it in the closet, but we did not unplug and stow away the electric pump for the air mattress, okay?
Oh.
Here we go.
Okay, so it's laying on the floor, okay, plugged into the wall for probably 6 months.
Okay.
No, it was like 2 days after we left. Plugged into the wall, and it's just laying on the floor. Now, it's not in our path or anything, so of course we don't really pay attention to it. I get up one morning, 7:30-ish.
And there's a ghost filling the air mattress.
Bobby Lee was on his knees blowing.
Right. Jennie Wade in my house.
I only need to stay a couple of weeks. No, so I get up in the morning, massive pressure on my bladder.
Yeah.
So I go in and I urinate. Now, I'm peeing and I hear a hairdryer. Now, it's important to say I come out of my room and immediately, if I go straight, that's the living room and that's where the blower is plugged in.
Okay.
But to go to the bathroom, I come out of my room, immediately make a right and immediately make a left. It's a very short hallway. And, it's a little apartment.
Yeah.
All right. So I don't have to go where this thing is. So I'm in there. I'm peeing. I hear a hairdryer.
My.
And I'm like,
I don't have any hair. What is that?
I'm like, why the is Pete blow drying his hair at 7:30 in the morning? And then I'm like, the shower's as dry as a bone. And then I'm like, he doesn't blow dry his hair. So I'm like, what the hell's going on?
Yes, he don't wash his hair.
So I finish peeing. I shake off. I run outside to and his door's open a crack, and he's sprawled out on his bed, dead to the world. Right. I still hear the hairdryer. I go out into the living room, and I follow the sound, and sure enough, that thing is switched on, and it's going.
What?
So I'm like, what the? So I turn it off. I unplug it. I put it in the closet. I'm like, that was weird. And I go away. Well, a couple years later, I hear a story about the building that I lived in.
Okay.
Okay. Civil War. It was a hospital. It was over a storefront in town.
Hair dryer unit.
What?
Hair drying unit.
All right, Parker.
That's all right. I apologize.
So the story goes that it was a storefront, and then there's 2 floors above it, right? The owners of the store lived on the 2nd floor. 3rd floor was storage or whatever. Well, during the battle, they need every piece of shelter they could get, every floor they could get. Yeah. And so this becomes a hospital. They remove all the stuff from the 3rd floor, which is where we were. And they have the guys lined up, laying on the floor, wounded, obviously, head to toe, and with little aisles for the nurses to get through. Well, this one nurse, bless her heart, was walking through, and this one boy was, obviously in the death throes, and he's crying for his mother or whatever, water or comfort. Ugh. And so she, turns to him, squats down, to take care of him. And then he passes, and she gets up and turns around and discovers that the boy directly behind her had also just expired because of her big fat ass smothering him.
He didn't fight it, though. He took it and went like a champ. He said, "The Lord takes me, and I go willingly."
The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away.
He's like, no.
I hope nobody remembers this. His last words were, "That's awful." That we're laughing about that. That is really awful.
But death by
what?
snooze
But
snoo?
let me just say, let me just say this about that.
Okay.
We're okay. You guys, you don't only talk about war and battles, right? You've got the Titanic and you know, other things that you talk about. A lot of war and a lot of battles. I talk only about a battle.
Yeah,
okay,
you do.
We spread our wings a little bit every once in a while. Not spread our wings. I forget that's not the euphemism I wanted. But we step out into
Cast our nets.
You dip your toes into other waters.
Toes into other things every once in a
You
while.
visit other lakes.
But it's always to do with the Civil War.
Yeah.
Okay. When I'm in my recording season, which I'm about to start on Monday, I record 2 to 3 shows a day, 2 to 3 days a week. Okay, because I try to get all of my shows done by March.
Yeah.
Smart.
Well, yeah, but not smart for the psyche, for the mental well-being.
Right,
Because you're
that's
talking
true.
about people. And now that I'm 46 and I could have, but I didn't, theoretically had a kid 20-something years ago who would now be the age of these guys that we're talking about dying.
Yep.
It's depressing.
Yep.
Sure.
It's depressing.
Yep.
You feel bad for them. You feel like it's kind of there, but for the grace of God go I.
Yeah,
like
sure.
And so that's why we do our weekly live stream, and it's kind of just a goof show because I have to let that go. I have to exercise all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
And
totally get that.
the gallows humor that we just displayed there about a poor kid dying from suffocation of a fat ass is
I hope I go out that way.
no, they didn't bathe back then.
I was gonna say
man.
this is a day and age.
I don't care.
Come on.
Wow. Well,
Oh man.
now it's maybe time for more breaking news.
Oh yeah, right.
That's, if you know me, that's not breaking.
Where's the Stone Cold sound effect?
That's not
Anyway, yeah, you have to learn to laugh at that. And then, hanging around veterans and like having conversations with them or especially listening to them talk to other veterans.
Yeah.
And I hear their gallows humor and I'm like, dude, what I do is nothing compared to what these guys
Oh, no.
do.
Oh yeah.
And I love it.
Oh yeah.
And they do it for the same reason. It's the same psychological steam release,
just protects you.
Yeah. You got to do that. And if you can't, and honestly, like anybody who's listening who was maybe like, doesn't like us joking about these things, it's like, well, how do you sit and read about them and not
Dude, yeah.
have
Like,
to have some, like, maybe you're the psychopath.
yeah, you got to
Right,
break
yeah.
that. So let me ask you a serious question, which kind of jumps in the
Go ahead.
timeline before like Nice Studios and kind of working through, a couple seasons. How do you even decide this is what you're going to do? I know you have a background in podcasting, but like, where does the idea for I want to do a history show and I want to do a Gettysburg-based show come from? Like,
Let me just say this is a very good question. I've never been asked this before, and this is the only show where if it was asked I feel that the answer would actually be appreciated. And so I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
Since I was able
That's
to...
all we have time for today.
And to hear the rest, you're going to have to subscribe and like to our Patreon. Choose the $100 a month option, and you can hear.
All right. So I'm sorry. I couldn't resist. I was like, oh, it's there. I'm going to take it.
that's good.
But yeah, all right, because
Oh,
like
let me take
That's
I
what that
know
dying soldier said too, by the way.
it's true. But like I know from our experience here, like it's an interesting decision, and like you're very focused. You talk about Gettysburg, so like how do you do that? How do you get there?
All right. So ever since I could figure out how to use a tape recorder, I was recording fake radio shows, obviously because I wasn't on the radio.
So
and
like cassette tape era.
Yeah, cassette tapes. And
Hell
actually, a friend of mine found one of them And it's funny because I had
Welcome to Addressing My Bedroom.
it was
That's
really
a He-Man toy.
Hello, welcome to Addressing Parsippany.
We have G.I. Joe in studio today.
We're having gabagool for dinner tonight.
I lost his gun somewhere in the vent.
I hope my mom orders pizza tonight because I really like pizza.
Yeah.
And then call into the show if you want. We'll take a call. Hello,
Yeah,
George.
but my mom.
this is George. I would do that. Like I would, because this phone, they always
That's
sound really bad.
amazing.
So anyway, I started doing that because my father, when we would go visit my grandparents on the way home, he always listened to talk radio, which you're a little kid, you're bored out of your mind. Sports talk, politics, whatever it was, boring, right? You don't care about that crap.
Sure.
But I was always fascinated with the art of it. The host, the callers, and so I would go home and mimic that. And then Howard Stern. He was around, but high school comes along and I can listen to Howard Stern. And I was like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever heard in my life because it's the worst. Today, like that, the humor just could not fly today, no matter what you're talking about. But like, if you got what he was doing, it was the funniest thing in the world. If you did, and then many didn't, and they think he's a pig and everything like that.
Howard is to the FCC as Canada is to the Geneva Convention. Rules exist because of things they did.
Yes. Howard is to the FCC. No, so I loved Howard, and then in high school, my friends and I had a karaoke machine and a mixer and a bunch of microphones and a tape and CD player. And so I hooked it all together and we did a show every other week during the school year.
Nice.
And while everybody was out getting laid on Fridays, we were in there recording the show.
Welcome to the Every Other Friday show.
Right. And
From
so
inside the locker here.
we would do it. And then I would go to Sam Goody and I would buy a sleeve of tapes, and I would dub the show onto these tapes during the weekend, and I would sell them for $2 on Monday in the hallways
Oh, that's cool.
at school.
That's great.
And people bought them, and
Nice.
then people couldn't wait for the next one to come out, and because we basically mimicked Howard Stern, but we were high school kids, so we didn't really understand the line that he really, on the surface it sounds crass and everything, but there was an art to what he did.
There's a reason he is the greatest talk show host of all time.
Yeah, and that's why, like, if you get it, then you get it, and it's hilarious. If you don't get it, then you're a moron. So, no, I'm just kidding. A lot of people don't get it, and they're not morons. But anyway, so that's what we did there. And then nothing for, nothing until I moved to Gettysburg. And I read an article in the Hanover Evening Sun about a couple who lived in Gettysburg who had a podcast. And this is when podcasts were new. This was 2008, 2007, 2008. And I'm like, I'd heard of these things, but I don't really know what they are because I'm kind of an old man. I'm a little slow to catch up with technology. And even when I was in my 20s. And so I don't know how. Oh, I probably, because they named their show, I found them and I contacted them and I said, hey, I would like to try this podcasting thing, but I don't have any equipment and I'm broke. Would you be my producer? And so we met and talked over lunch or coffee or whatever. And then, they said, yeah, we would do it. And so again, we do a Stern style show because that's really the only thing I find interesting to listen to. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to do something I'm not, that doesn't appeal to me. So let's do this, right?
Sure.
All right. So we do that. And that doesn't even, I think it lasts maybe a year. But then off of that, I do one about Lost, the show Lost.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the final season. My friends and I were interested in it. And my one friend is a very smart guy with entertainment type stuff. He goes, hey, we should do a podcast about Lost's last season. It'll probably get attention.
Question for you. Never watched the show. Were they found?
Yes.
Okay.
And no.
Oh.
And
It's
yes.
both.
Yes.
All right. Sounds
They were.
complicated. I'm out.
It is complicated.
M. Night
I
Shyamalan
recently
did that, right?
no, it was Damon Lindelof and the other guy,
Abrams.
It's a made
J.J. Abrams,
J.J.
but he
That's
was
a
just in the
made-up name.
beginning. He was just in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he didn't stick around.
That's the thing. J.J. Abrams is great at starting things.
Yeah,
If you think about it.
well,
like-
he's really great at using anamorphic lens flares.
yeah,
And that's about it.
yep.
I don't really get it.
Me too, dude.
You
Me
know,
too.
right? Like,
Yeah.
it's just, I think people want another Spielberg to worship, and he's clearly heavily influenced by Spielberg,
Yeah.
which is cool.
I mean, dude, that's the only reason people watch the YouTube here is when we do anamorphic lens flares.
In fact, we're working on a show right now called Anamorphic Lens Flare.
Everybody's
Lens Flare Things
Googling
podcast.
anamorphic lens flares. Anyway, so so we do that show, and it does catch an audience, right? More than the show I was doing before. And so we finished that, and then I think that ended like in the fall. And then over the winter, they had the Emmys, and Modern Family's first season won a whole bunch of Emmys.
Yeah, great show.
It was a fantastic show. So my friend Mark calls me and he's like, hey, Modern Family just won a whole bunch of Emmys. So that means people are going to be paying attention to season 2. Let's do another show about Modern Family. So the first one was called Lost, No Time to Explain. And then the next one was Modern Family After Party. I don't know why we called it After Party. But anyway, so it was the same group of people, me, my friend Pete, my friend Mark, and his wife Heather. And we did these shows. And the Modern Family one, like, I think by the third episode, we outranked Kevin Smith's podcast for like a week or a day or an
Hell yeah.
hour. Maybe it was an hour. I don't know. But
Doesn't matter.
and then we were like, holy shit.
Yeah, you did it.
Like,
Yeah.
what do we, right, we did it. And then we were kind of like,
You
well,
beat
what do we
Silent
do now?
Bob.
I did. I beat Silent
That's
for a minute and a half.
Yeah.
And so we finished out that season, but then Mark and his wife had a baby, and Pete was getting married, and then, like, you know, life gets in the way of these dopes with these idiots, you know, with the kids and the wives. Stop it. So, but I was like, so close. Like, I've always wanted to communicate with people,
Yeah.
on a mass scale, but I never had I just never liked the established anything,
Sure.
right? And I'm not like a punk rocker. Like, when it comes to music, I'm very much like whatever.
Your mohawk, how tall was it when you were in your punk rock phase?
It got to maybe 1.25 inches, and I was like, this is boring. And I just
Or
grew
is
it
that
all long.
more punk rock because you were like, I'm not even going to do a mohawk? 'cause
I'm
it's-
so
you're-
punk. I'm anti-punk.
It's like annoying me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Punk is so not cool.
Holy crap. Do you still have those demo tapes?
Of what?
I don't know. I just assumed because you had them. Like, you're cutting old school punk tracks on your Howard Stern show in high school.
Yeah, no. So anyway, so then after that, nothing for a while, and then I try another one with a few of my friends, and that goes for a few years, actually, like probably like 3 or 5 years, something like that. And then one day, my friend Pete and I did the show, and we'd always do it as a live stream too. And we did the show, and afterwards, we're just kind of sitting around talking, and he goes, "Are you getting tired of doing fart jokes?" And I go, "Yeah."
Never.
And I said, "I kind of want to do something that has like value."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Yeah, me too." And I go, "Okay, well, what can we do?" Now, at this point, I had been at the podcasting game for 9 years, and I had learned really a lot of failures but with those minor successes, right?
Yeah. That's all podcasting is.
Sure. Well, that's all life is.
What is it Gene Kranz says? Successful failure?
Yeah, but we're just talking about a series of successive failures where sometimes you score.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
And they're small scores, never enough to make up for all the failure.
No.
But you learn. A smart person learns.
Yeah.
You learn through the pain.
100%.
So anyway, he's like, why don't you take that addressing Gettysburg idea and dust it off? And he's like, move to Gettysburg. Like, what's keeping you up here? Well, not much. I couldn't figure out what the to do.
It was
for a
mostly
living.
warrants.
Warrants. Yeah, warrants were keeping me in New Jersey because I can't go back to PA.
Yeah.
And that thing on
Till
your
they all
ankle.
clear.
That
Right.
thing on your ankle said to stay at home.
Right. No, I wish I had some excuse like that. I just was such a loser. Like I couldn't figure out what to do for a living.
Well, the
because-
state of New Jersey thought you'd bore people to death, so they were like, you got to stay home.
yeah.
You're a menace to
You're a
society.
deadly weapon.
You bland motherfucker.
Conversation is a deadly weapon.
Wow.
So,
Oh wow.
you know, at that time in my life, like I was probably, I don't know, 6 months out of actually feeling suicidal.
Oh, man.
So,
Dark.
so he knew. And so, you know, he was always kind of along with me, you know, in that whole thing,
Sure.
giving me the gun. No, no. And so, you know, he's, you know, kind of like really like almost like a fatherly, what? I was like, he's my,
It's just, I was like, my natural inclination was to take that joke further.
well, why didn't you?
No, just because I was like, you know what? The show is changing enough. It doesn't need to change that much. That is a cliff of darkness
Yeah.
that, you know, we can just stop right there.
Wow.
Cliff of Darkness. That would be my name, Clifford Darkness.
Clifford Darkness. That's your bass player name in our metal band. This is Clifford Darkness. Just play
All I can do is
The fattest low E in history.
that's all. Don't change the key, boys.
Yeah.
It's always an E. All right. So anyway,
Yeah.
Oh man.
so I go. That's a good idea. Now, Addressing Gettysburg was originally supposed to be a documentary film when I was trying to get into filmmaking about the history of tourism in Gettysburg.
Okay.
I read a book about tourism by a guy named Jim Weeks, and I was like, oh, this is fascinating because like every generation had different ways that they viewed the battlefield. Like, but by that I mean, like take for example how there used to be an electric trolley that ran, you know,
Yeah.
down
Sure, yeah.
Devil's Den and all that stuff, and there was Tipton had a like a photo stand there where you can take pictures down there and everything like that. Abhorrent today, right? The park would never allow that, number one, but we would be like, ew, it's almost like Jesus in the temple when everybody's you know,
Right.
trading everything. Like everybody would be
Turning
like,
into a den of thieves.
yeah, and like now, and we're so purist about it now. Like we don't even allow beavers to dam up
Yeah.
a creek because people are, well, we allow them, but we don't want to. You know, the purists, right? So, so I just thought that was interesting. But films are very hard to get off the ground, especially when nobody knows who you are. Anything is hard when they don't know who you are.
You should try anamorphic lens flares. It really catches
You know what?
people's eye.
They're very expensive lenses.
You should do a film about Robert E. Lee and Jennie Wade.
Well, I didn't know the theory back
Oh.
then.
That's right.
So anyway,
Bring him back out of retirement.
what I did was I had a Facebook page when I was trying to get it going, and then I just gave up on it because it wasn't going to happen. And the Facebook page sat. I didn't do anything with it, yet I went from like 120 or followers or whatever you call them on Facebook, likes or whatever, to 860 in like
Nice.
3 or so years, a number of years.
Okay.
And I just happened to notice it one day, and
Just
I go,
like sitting idly?
Yeah.
That's because that
I-
algorithm was working for you.
well, but still, somebody has to choose to hit like, right?
yeah.
And so that told me that on an account that hasn't been active in 5 years, people will still follow it if it says Gettysburg.
Yeah.
Okay? Okay. So there's one. So I changed the name of the page when I realized this would be better as a podcast, which was before this point in time. I changed it to Addressing Gettysburg Podcast, and I just left it there. But then when I saw that, I'm like, okay. And then Pete says, why don't you go and do, you know, that Addressing Gettysburg thing and move back to Gettysburg, study to be a guide or whatever. And, you know, but it's cheaper to be poor down there. So
It's true.
it is true.
And had Gettysburg been like part of your like focus for
I
like
love it. Well, yeah. So I had already lived here there from 05 to 10 is when I started the bike tours, and I had that ghost experience.
Right.
And then I
That's
moved away to New Jersey for 8.
That's right.
And my sister was having kids. I wanted to see them when they were small and brainwash them into calling me their favorite uncle.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. So, but now it's like, okay, I have to move on with I got to do something with my life for me now, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, I decide, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go back to Gettysburg. I still have friends there. You know, it is easier to be poor there. I can start fresh. Yeah, I can start fresh there. New Jersey is a tough nut to crack, and it's funny. Like down here, I can get really Tony Soprano, but up there, you'll actually meet Tony Soprano. So you know, and so I'm kind of
because you're from that part of Jersey.
Yeah, and I'm kind of like a peacenik up there, but down here I'm like, get the out of my face.
Yeah, he's like, you better bring gabagool when you talk to me, okay? You show some respect.
Right.
Kiss the rings, bring the gabagool.
Yeah, exactly.
This ring was found in the ground on the.
What are you
callback.
doing?
What is that?
Callback.
What are you doing?
That was a
ring was
callback.
found on the ground. You're Dracula.
I'm Irish Dracula.
I am so lost right now, friend.
No, remember the
Mina.
joke you made earlier? With
No.
you pulled the ring out of the ground.
The
and there was a bone
blood
on
of
it?
the ring.
No.
You don't remember that joke?
No, that
Blood
means
of the
I
ring.
moved through that moment, and now I live in this moment now.
You remember
Where?
the
Did we just have a
joke?
Beardstein Bears moment?
In this moment,
Berenstein Bears
I'm
joke.
confused.
I'm very confused now. Please, Parker, tell me what you're thinking. What's that? What was that noise?
Please tell me I'm not crazy. Do you remember the joke about you pulled the ring out of the ground and there was a bone attached to it?
Was that when I made Jennie Wade or whoever Irish?
Yeah, that's when you made.
But what
you
is?
made the
What
dude.
were you doing?
There was something you had just
You were
said.
doing Dracula.
That was a faulty Irish accent.
I will suck the marrow out of the bone with the ring on it. There is still blood in there.
It's been a long day.
I am so lost.
Anyway, so let me just finish the story.
Yeah,
I always
Jesus.
get really, you know what? Play the, yeah, thank you. Turn it up. Parker strikes again. I always get close to the end, and then Parker just derails the whole thing.
Oh my god.
My
All right.
wife says the same thing.
Oh my god.
So it's not just you.
There you go. You
guys-
redeemed yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I moved down here. I'm hell bent, Patrick. I'm hell bent on making a living based off of a talent I have.
Like your passion, something
A
you're
passion
good at.
and a talent, right? And if I can find a way to make the two merge, that's when I have a winner.
Right.
Not a big winner, not even a bronze, but a winner.
Yeah.
Okay? All right. So
Okay.
that's what I do.
Capiche.
Capiche?
Okay.
So that's what I do. The first thing I do when I move back here,
I turned
I
more
order some
Italian.
gabagool.
I turned more Italian than I ever been in my life.
Yeah.
I opened up a gabagool restaurant.
I put up a gabagool restaurant. Doesn't do well. Nobody down here could appreciate the gabagool.
I said, listen to Camilla.
Yeah, Kamala. Oh, I thought I told you to go get me the gabagool. Anyway, so I come down here and I started, and you know the first thing I did. So here's the lessons that I learned in all my failures and everything that made
Okay.
this work. Okay, number one, Gettysburg, it's a winner.
Yeah.
Okay, number two, I love Gettysburg. I lived here.
Yeah.
I had a unique experience when I lived here. I ran a tour company and I went on so many tours. So I know the story of the battle. Not enough to pass the guide exam, clearly.
That's a different story.
Yeah. That's the story of everything from Genesis on.
We're going to do an episode about Gettysburg where people are just pissed off the entire time, and we'll talk about the guide exam and the beavers. That'll be it, top to bottom.
Oh, God. Well, I've done 2 shows like that.
It'll be 90 minutes of rage.
Yeah. Gettysburg Rage with Pat and Parker.
Just, it's the most insane metal the whole time.
Okay, those two things.
All right.
Also, I remember Pete and I talking about it before I moved down, and we had started the Instagram account. And the plan was start Instagram, build an audience there, and talk about the podcast, tease it, but you're not putting it out until you're
Don't
ready.
do it.
But don't do it.
Right.
Tease it, don't do it.
Sell the land, but don't let them take possession of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Put up a wall or a minefield. No, eventually I was going to do it.
Yeah.
But what
No
I was
public
doing was I
event.
was building an audience while working on the podcast. Because remember, I've told this to you and I've
Yeah.
told this to other people. I like to be ahead of
Yes.
releases. So, so that's what I did. And what I was doing to build the audience was I was bringing them around Gettysburg with me, and I would do live videos. I would take pictures. I was taking tours with like doing ranger walks and things. And then after the ranger walk, I would do a video and I would show the people what I just learned from the ranger. And it was only if it was something that I hadn't already known. And it turned out, much to my surprise, that no matter how many bike tours I went on the battlefield, you don't see a lot because you're moving, right?
Right.
It's the same as being in a car. And that's where
People should get out of the car.
Exactly. So when I would do those videos,
should do
I would
something
point
with
to
that.
this.
I was going to say, you
thing.
should really look into that. That's a
I would
great
point,
idea.
press the button. That I just learned about. That was off the beaten path.
Okay.
And I would end the video with just another reason to get out of the car. And then I put the show out. And when I put the show, months later,
Yeah.
I put the show out. And the first show is what I call a narrative episode. So I tell the story, and I started at Antietam and work my way to Gettysburg.
Hey, that's almost trademark infringement. All right.
Why?
We're the Antietam guys. Okay.
Oh, I don't go in.
No, hey, wait.
Literally,
Do you
Antietam.
want the lawyers?
Antietam is like 14 sentences.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
Out of hundreds.
Oh.
Please. Anyway, so I do that, but I'm gonna steal like Ken Burns' audio track style, right? Yeah, well, music and like period music and
Dramatic voice reading.
yes. And so I do that, but I already have a built-in audience, right? Because I have like, I don't know, I think I had like 1,500 followers at that time, or maybe I don't remember what I had, but whatever it was, when I released it, that first month I had 1,500 downloads.
Right.
Whereas if you just say, I'm going to do a podcast, you do it, you put it out, the world does not know.
Right.
But I built the audience first. And I knew, and this is not a humble brag or a brag of any kind, but I knew, because people have always told me this in my life, that I have a good personality that, crazy people will listen to.
You're all right.
Yeah.
That's
And
how I found you.
What?
That's how I found you.
He's crazy. You
He's
didn't know
crazy.
that?
God, yeah.
That was an actual joke.
You got gabagool for brains.
Yes.
The door's been locked the whole time. just saying that.
So I'm like, all right, I'm going to get them to know me. And then they'll be at least curious to see if I can do a good podcast. Well, they probably had a feeling I would, because I would just sit on the porch and talk to my phone and read the comments and everything like that and respond to them. But, people loved them.
All right, what year is this?
This is 2018 into 19.
Okay, because this is something that you were still doing when we met in life.
Yeah. Because for a while, Instagram was like my main platform. I found the people over there were friendlier and more supportive.
Right.
Facebook is a cesspool. Twitter is a cesspool. YouTube, I wasn't doing video. I had a YouTube account, but only audio versions of the show would go out there. But I figured, well, I'll just do this as a catch-all, and eventually I'll get video going again.
Right.
So anyway, I put that narrative episode out, and people love it. But I realized, well, that took me 6 months to write and produce. I don't have another 6 months. I'm going to lose people.
Right.
So I'm talking to my friend Pete again.
So
And
Pete's the real brain.
Pete's absolutely. I'm the talent and the looks.
I love how
He's
serious
the
you actually
brains.
just got with that.
No, well, because it's true.
No, I
Yeah,
just was
yeah.
like one of those, like we talk a lot of when we hang out, but I was like, that was like a super genuine.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I actually enjoyed that. Like
Absolutely,
that was.
Patrick, you son
It's
of a
kind of
bitch.
it's kind of
Thanks
like
for
on this
pointing
show.
that
You're
out.
like, thanks for making sure that he knows I am thankful.
It's like on
Loser.
It's like on this show. Pat is the talent, the brains, the writers, and I'm the. Anyway, back to your story.
Jesus Christ.
You're the question mark. Right?
Yes.
You're like, what is he?
Yeah.
What is
What am I doing?
what is a Parker?
What is a part?
Right. No, we know what you are. You're the lovable, huggable.
I've been
Michael
asking
McDonald
the what is a Parker
impersonator.
question for like 8 years now.
Yeah.
What is a Parker?
Well,
I'm truly an enigma,
Well, now you're going to find out. Now that he's your co-host, you're going to find this out now.
That's right.
and I've been trapped in his basement for 3 years now, and
So
he's
Pete
still figuring it
says, So Pete says, I'm complaining because I don't have filler. I don't have anything to, and now 3 months have gone by and my downloads each month are getting lower.
Yeah.
So I'm not growing my audience. And he goes, well, okay, so let us see. What do we know? Gettysburg, works. So you got to do like SEO stuff. And he goes, why don't you do a show called Ask a Gettysburg Guide? You know, a bunch of guides, have them come on and, let people submit questions and they can ask it. I'm like, oh, it's a great idea. So I started doing that. And at first it was just like, send me your questions and I'll ask the guide. But so it was like a shotgun approach. There was no one topic for each episode, but people really liked it.
Yeah.
And then somebody, I don't remember who, somebody said, you know what you should do? You should do one topic because it might have been Pete, because that's easier for searches and everything like that. That's a great idea. So then we changed it to one topic somewhere along the line. And that became my filler while I worked on the other narrative releases and all that jazz. And, and then, I don't know, it's just turned into whatever the hell it is now. But the question, Patrick, that you asked earlier that started this whole speech was that I always knew that I think I had to prove, I don't know if it was to myself or to my parents maybe, I had to make a living my own way doing something I love to do.